pictures of folks that needed pictures for the website. So if you haven't had your picture taken before the meeting, maybe there's an opportunity after, real quick. But hopefully everybody will have their picture posted and plastered, so when you're looked up, people know who you are. So thanks everybody for coming in. I think we have a few stragglers who can't get in the other side, but they'll be coming in. So thanks everybody for coming. Obviously this is primarily a Meet the Candidate night, and we will be turning this over to the candidates in just a little bit after some remarks that I'd like to make. I just want to say that we are extremely fortunate as a community to have true, wonderful candidates for the board that have extensive community experience in leadership roles. Stay tuned, being modest, and to also have the energy and commitment and willingness to step up. So I really do appreciate it, and I think we're very fortunate as a community. So we will have them speaking in a few minutes, but this is the time of the year when generally you're going to be receiving a letter from MAH00224, our management administration partner, talking about the budget for 2018, talking about the dues, talking about voting. That's when you usually see the paper ballot in your mail. So I wanted to sort of preview some of what you're going to see in that letter so there's no surprises, and so you may have also the opportunity to ask some questions at the close of the meeting if you have any. So first of all, barring any unforeseen events between now and the end of the year, so let's keep your fingers crossed that there are no rogue snowstorms that come up, but barring any of those kinds of things, we will have a very good year financially. So in 2017, we're really planning to end the year with a fairly considerable operating fund surplus of about $50,000, and our reserve spend will come in just slightly under budget, but that's having done a lot of good work with the dam and other things this year. And both of these results are really attributable to the excellent work done by the committees and their leadership, who really drive this work, who do so much with so little, that I think we should give them a raise. What do you think?
Triple their salary.
But truly, it's their excellent work that drives this home every year, and we appreciate their efforts. But then we know our community is aging, and we see that in all aspects of the community. So our budget in 2018 is going to include a little bit more money for tree pruning and removal, as you see some kind of rogue trees, for some mowing, better mowing of the sides of the embankments, and also continued money to keep our gates functioning properly. And I think we could all say hooray, that's needed as well. You also may have noticed, if you drive by the stone house, that we now have a beautiful and working stone house waterfall. We worked closely with the Cliffs on their dime to fix that waterfall and make the repairs that were needed, turning a algae cesspool into now a nicely working waterfall. But we will, as a POA, be taking that on for ongoing maintenance of that waterfall, just as we maintain the others in the community. So that's a little bit of increased expense as well. So accordingly, given that kind of backdrop, we are going to be raising our operating budget, increasing that about 2% year over year, which is really a fairly small increase and continues to show the good work of cost management by the teams. This will actually give us a projected underrun because our income will be not sufficient to support that operating expense budget. So we expect a shortfall of about $7,500 in the operating expense line. But because of the surplus that we have this year, the finance team did not believe that we needed to ask the community for an operating fund increase for next year, that we could cover that with our surplus. Now, on the reserve side, that's a little bit of a different issue. In the reserve side, we will be asking for a $25 a year increase in dues. So that will take your dues from $1,165 a year to $1,190. And the reason for this is, when we looked over the next 5 years, our anticipated spend out of the reserve is about $1.4 million. The vast majority of that spend is in road repair, paving, and maintenance of about 1.3. So that's the real bulk of it. Even with that $25 dues increase, over the 5-year period, we will probably have a deficit, so more spending than dues coming into that reserve fund, of about a couple $100,000. However, we believe that the increase in our investment funds and the return on those monies, plus the fact that we have about $1.1 million at the end of 2017 in the reserve, that at the end of that 5-year period, we look to be at our target of about $1 million in our reserve fund. So we're being conservative, and again, this is all barring any unforeseen things that happen in the community, but I think we're in pretty good shape. So you will see this in the letter, this $25 increase when you get it from MAH. The second thing I wanted to just discuss is that we are, as a POA, proposing some changes in the restrictions and bylaws that are associated with our covenants. And these are things that are super common sense things, and that really are targeted to help protect us, protect our property, protect our community. So what you're going to be seeing there is there's going to be no changes in the covenants themselves. But in the restriction area, we're proposing two kind of primary things. First, we're going to add language that is going to specify that we have single-family residences, and they are not to be partially rented to a third party. Again, this is very consistent with our ongoing policy that we don't rent parts of our house while other people are in them, put them on Airbnb, that kind of thing. So this is not a change in policy, it's just a clarification of the language to make sure that that's solid. Secondly, we are going to put in language that will restrict the launching and flying of hobby aircraft, including drones, remote control airplanes, that sort of thing, both launching and landing on our common space, our common property. This clearly is a safety consideration as well. Our insurance does not cover issues resulting from that sort of activity. So we thought just best put it in there and protect ourselves that we are not liable and we shouldn't be doing it. These two changes will, what we're obligated to do is to notice to be sent to the community. So probably the notice of those two changes would be included in the NHE letter. Then finally, the bylaws. We are proposing a couple of changes to the bylaws. And these do require a vote. So they'll be in your package and a votable item, and we obviously are going to encourage you to vote positively on these two items. The first is that the nominating committee, we are going to eliminate the requirement that the chairperson of that committee be a board member. But you didn't even know that that exists, but it does. And clearly we would like to do this to increase transparency, because we never want the perception that the current board is unduly influencing the creation of future boards. And so that we believe this should be run by the committee, and the chairperson doesn't have to be a board member. Pretty clear. The second part of the bylaw improvement will be to include options for electronic delivery of many of our communications to the community. So this includes things like meeting notices, proxies, online voting, etc. So, I mean, clearly we have a great website that we can communicate with you easily, and it's just the way of the world today to include electronic voting as part of the normal way of communicating with our membership. So those are the two things that you will see. Right now, these changes to the covenants are under final legal review by our attorney, Jeff Gray, and I don't expect any issues. So that, again, that's a preview of what you may see on the ballot and in the letter. And we do expect this year, just as we did last year, to support online voting as an option for you, in addition to the paper ballot that you'll receive in the mail. And it's a really easy way for you to make your voice heard if for some reason you don't feel like you can get here, or you don't want to give your ballot to a proxy or so forth. So we encourage you to use all forms of voting, just vote. So at this point, I'd like to turn it over to Vinnie, Vinnie Chiadello, who's a member of the nominating committee, to introduce our candidates and to make a couple of remarks. And I'll come back at the end to just close the meeting and get any questions you may have.
Okay, thanks, Elise. You've convinced me to reduce my 20-minute speech to 30 seconds. A lot of pressure. Thanks. So I'm standing here for Burv Pugh, essentially. Burv was the person from the board of directors who was the chairman of the nominating committee and worked with the nominating folks. I sort of was the sub-chairperson, but I didn't do much. Elise kind of gave an introduction to, you know, what we started to say, and so I'm not going to repeat it just a little bit, but you know, we have two great people from the community who are stepped up to run for the board. The board wants to extend their thanks to them for doing that. You'll get to meet them a little more if you don't know them already. You'll find out they're truly terrific people, and we really do thank them for stepping up and doing working on this activity. If you have questions for Lou or Laura after their talks, please leave them for the end, and I'll come back up in a minute. And let me do this now. I also want to thank the nominating committee. In case you folks don't know who that is, let me tell you, these 5 people who worked very hard to find candidates, talk to everybody, and get things drummed up. So it's Tony Caruso, Karen Clancy, Ron Karpinski, Susie Moore, and Gail Thomason, and they should get a nice round of applause. Do we have that in order?
Who wants to go first?
Ladies go first.
All right, Laura.
Sorry.
No, that's sexist.
You're right. You're right.
Yeah, but we can leave it.
That's not sexist, though.
Well, as Vinnie said, I'm Laura Wilson. I lived here 10 years this week.
Whoa, welcome.
I've been married 36 years. to kiss Gary.
It's over now.
We're out of the closet.
We have 3 children and 2 grandchildren. Now it's interesting, when we moved in, you were having Meet the Candidates night. So it all comes around. So Greg and I, knowing nobody, we didn't know anybody when we moved here, the first thing we did was go to Meet the Candidates night. We were impressed as to how many people came to listen to the candidates and how many candidates were running. There were quite a few that night. I don't really remember who was there, but I do remember one candidate, Gary Klinger, although I don't think he's here tonight. He impressed me with his dry sense of humor and his qualifications. Who knew that 10 years later, this week, it would be me?
Yeah.
I participated in many community activities, including the Cliffs Valley Ladies Golf Association president, the Valley Ladies Member Guest Tournament chairperson, Meals on Wheels, Cliff Dwellers Bowling League, Highway Cleanup, and Ladies Bridge Group, and probably others that I can't remember. Well, let me just say, I was not the CEO, CIO, or CFO of anything, nor did I have the opportunity to live all over the world with a big corporation. What I was, though, was the managing director of the Wilson family.
Wilson.
3 kids, a dog, and a husband who seemed to work 24/7. The 3 kids were in every sport they could try and every lesson they could take. Probably like you wonder how you ever did it. Along with raising a family, my work experience, and my education, I've learned multitasking, problem solving, and conflict resolution. For many years, I was a dental hygienist. As a hygienist, you become a good, compassionate listener. As you know, one of the first things patients say when they sit in your chair is, "I hate going to the dentist and I don't want to be here." My job was not only to clean their teeth, but to make them feel comfortable, secure, and listen to their needs. During another part of my life, I was a real estate agent, like Lou. Now, there is a profession that requires problem-solving skills like no other. Currently, I have a small business called Upper Ridge Designs, where I design and create jewelry. Many of you ladies know about this, and many of your men wish they didn't. These experiences helped make me qualified to be a Valley POA board member. Now, many people have said, "Why do you want to be on the board?" Well, I was going to do the top 10 reasons I want to be on the board, but I could only think of 5. So here are my 5 top reasons I want to be on the board. Number 1, I had a really good excuse for declining the opportunity last year. I could not think of one this year. Number 2, as you know me, I have an insatiable appetite for power. Number 3, I love to get late night phone calls, but remember, my number is 911. Number 4, Karen Clancy and Elise Brenner would never talk to me again if I said no. And number 5, I will be so busy with board issues that my husband will have to retire and take over the cooking and cleaning. And that includes windows. Seriously, I feel honored to be a part of Valley POA board, and I look forward to working to make this community as great as it can be. We all have a stake in this community, and I feel it is my time to step up and take my turn to ensure that it stays great. I promise you that I will be open-minded to new ideas and opinions. I will be a respectful listener, and I will be accessible to all property owners. Let me leave you with this thought. Don't be afraid to talk to yourself. It's the only way you can be sure that someone is listening. Thank you all for the opportunity.